Welcome everyone to Sage Advice. I am your host, Rivka Rivera, and today we have a very special guest, Ann Middleman. Ann is an experienced marketing consultant who works with companies in a wide variety of businesses as a strategic partner. She believes that it's helpful to make decisions from a basis of knowledge, not assumptions. She guides clients to employ research techniques that are appropriate to their information needs, marketing strategies, and budgets. Her work spans a range of these information needs, including customer satisfaction, brand management, new product development, and product positioning, internal and external communications. Ann works directly with manufacturers and service providers. She's also an adjunct to advertising and marketing agencies. A strong team player, her focus is on providing clients with the best research and analysis their budgets can buy. She is also a leader in promoting professional development and networking among marketing and communication professionals. Ann believes in paying it forward, so the past 4 years, she's been mentoring up and coming entrepreneurs through SCORE, an arm of the U.S. Small Business Administration. So welcome, Ann. And
Thank you.
today, I believe we're going to be speaking specifically about marketing, your expertise. So
Yep.
Can we start by just talking? I would love to know your thoughts and what are your philosophy on marketing?
Wow, that's a big one. I would say that, first of all, I believe that everything is about marketing, no matter what industry you're in, including not-for-profits, including membership organizations, including politics. It's all about marketing. We've seen good and bad examples of that in particular in recent years. But I think the crux of marketing is really communication. It's all about communicating to a particular audience, values, key features and benefits of a product or service. So it's really all about communicating.
And so when you talk about communicating, I know you've been doing marketing for a long time. Do you think there's been, I know there's two different philosophies on how our influx of social media and the internet has changed what communication looks like or means, or is it sort of the same, just in a different form?
Much of it is the same in a different form, but what has changed, and I think the changes are meaningful and impactful, is the speed of communication, the breadth of reach of these communications, and for better or worse, people seem to give a lot of credence to whatever they see on social media or the internet. In many cases, not all, but in many cases, far beyond what the credibility of those communications really are. Okay. So that's kind of the yin and the yang of it. On the one hand, it makes it easier and quicker to communicate with your audience. On the other hand, there are other voices out there that may be in conflict with what you're trying to get across to your audience. And I think it makes it very confusing for people to try to parse out what is credible and what is not credible.
Do you have any advice for those marketing on how to maybe help with their messaging credibility?
Well, that's a very good question. I wish I had a quick answer.
Sure.
Well, I think for one thing, marketers and communicators need to be consistent in their messaging, because the more you consistently share and push out messages that are consistent, the more credibility they will gain. There are also other ways to build credibility through testimonials, through strategic alliances, through partnerships. And so that the more you get other people to sort of get on your bus, so to speak, the more credibility that trip will have.
That's really great advice. Yes, thinking about strategic partnerships, I think, is something people often overlook. So moving backwards, I guess, to a little bit of the basics for, let's say there's those in our audience who are considering, I have to think about my marketing plan for my small business, or maybe for myself as my own business. What are some of the first things that you would advise looking at?
The first thing is to examine your brand, whether it's a personal brand, if you are, let's say, an entertainer, or even a solo practitioner. Like my business was really all about the kind of service I was providing, the kind of partnerships that I was providing, as you said in your intro, and I thank you for that. So whether it's a personal brand or whether it's a brand for a product or service, that's the first thing that's where it starts, because that's where you get to define who is your audience, and that's extremely important. And it also gets you to think about, what are the benefits? Why should somebody buy from you when they could buy from anybody else? And particularly when you're talking about service providers, whether it's healthcare services, whether it's a business service, whether it's a mechanical service kind of thing, there are tons and tons of competitors. So when you start out with the brand, and you start out with who is the brand for, and what are the benefits, why should somebody buy from me instead of anybody else, that's really the crux of it. Everything else flows from that. And I often tell my clients, it's much more important to communicate about the benefits of your product or service than the features. You could talk about bells and whistles all day long, but if they're not relevant, if they don't resonate with your audience, it's falling on deaf ears. So part of the process is to determine what is important to your audience, what does resonate with them, what motivates them, what makes them say, yeah, I will buy from you because ABC. So it's really important to focus on the benefits and to understand what will resonate with your market.
Okay. And so from there, what would you say the next most important step would be?
The next most important thing is to discover or to determine where your market is. So who is your market? What is it that you're going to say to them, and where are they, so that you can meet them where they are and communicate your messages. So if you're dealing with a product or service that essentially is online, like telehealth, for example, you're obviously dealing with a population that's online. So if that's where they are, you have to meet them there, not only for the provision of your service, but to communicate about the service. If you're dealing with a product or service that's delivered to somebody's home, well, those people might be online, particularly if it's a younger audience. If it's an older audience, they may be more responsive to print advertising or direct mail, things like that, something that comes into their homes that they can hold on to, put on the refrigerator door or something like that. So again, who is your market? Where are they? What are you going to say to them?
So, Anne, how did you get into marketing? What was your journey?
Oh, golly.
This is sage advice. So, part of what we like to look at is the life journey of how did you find this path?
By accident. When I graduated from college, I was going to be a teacher. I was certified to teach mathematics in high school, and I did that for a year, and determined at the end of the year this was not the right journey for me, that it just wasn't ringing any bells for me. And so I said, well, I've got a math degree, I'll find something else. So I went looking for jobs, and almost by accident got an interview with Lewis Harrison Associates, which was the Harris Poll, and some people may remember the Harris Poll. Um, it was much bigger name back then than it is now. So I got that job at the Harris Poll, and I said, wow, this is really interesting. And at first I was working in the sampling department, and it was a presidential election year. So we were doing post-election analyses. And so it got into um, doing these surveys literally all over the country. I think there were maybe 8 or 10 states where we went in depth. The rest of it was the rest of it. I just determined this is really what I want to do. Not long after that, I decided that it was time to start my family. So I did. And I began to work part-time in doing executive interviewing. And that I really liked a lot. And every step along the way, I felt it was really important to learn something. So when I was doing sampling, I was learning about why is sampling important? What does it mean? What does it impart to the study itself? I also began to look at questionnaires to see how they're designed and learn different structures of questions. And then when I did interviewing, sort of so much the more so. And later on, I started a business where I hired interviewers to go out and do interviewing at central locations and also on the telephone and at home. And I decided to close that business. It wasn't what I wanted to be doing. So I worked at a number of different places, some market research companies. I worked in a home healthcare company. I worked at a public relations firm. And then at a certain point, decided, no, I wanted to try to go out on my own again. But by this point, which was about 20 years ago, I had developed a lot of contacts. I had developed a lot of experience in researching various industries, in doing different kinds of research, different media, different objectives, different products. And it gave me more of a global perspective on marketing, because when you're doing market research, you have to know about marketing because that's what you're researching. So it, as I say, it gave me a very global perspective on what marketing is, the kinds of things we talked about at the beginning. What is marketing? Why is it important? Why do people need to do it? What are the different things that you can learn through research that impact your marketing plan? The importance of having a marketing plan. How does media come into it? Along the way, I learned every project that I worked on, I learned something. I learned something either about technique or about the marketplace, about a particular industry, about presenting findings. So it all kind of comes together at the end.
It's so great to hear, everyone's different journey. And it sounds like you took this path of trying different things. I mean, what I'm hearing is that you were very diligent of trying these different things and being very clear to what authentically was right for you or not.
Yes.
What are some of the things that you see people who are resistant towards marketing? Why? And how do you help them overcome that resistance?
Honestly, I don't see people who are resistant to marketing. They're actually coming to us for advice on marketing. Okay. What I do see is that they don't know a lot about it. It's they on some level they know they have to do it, but they're not sure how to do it. They're not sure about media. They're not sure about messaging. A lot of times they don't know about branding, about developing a unique selling proposition, which is a very important thing. And so I start going through sort of the very basics, sort of marketing 101. And I see them scribbling notes. And to me, this is all like, yeah, it's very basic. But to them, it's new. And so that makes me feel really good because I'm imparting some knowledge to them that either they didn't know or they didn't appreciate how it all works. And so it's really good to be helping people to continue their journeys.
Nice. And are there any misconceptions that you find people have around marketing?
Well, one misconception is that it's quick and easy, which it often isn't. In spite of what I said earlier about new media,
Mm-hmm.
particularly digital media, social media, being a lot quicker, which it is, but even so, it's usually not immediate. You have to work at it. You have to continue to post things. I'll say to somebody, you need to be posting every day,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're starting out. You need to be posting, just post little tidbits, little
And
abstract.
why? For our audience who might not know why is it important to post every day?
To build your brand.
Okay.
To build your brand, to build visibility, to build credibility, to inform your public that you're here and that this is the product or service you're providing. You there are different metrics about this, but some people say you have to make 10 points of customer contacts in order to even get into the set of consideration of somebody to purchase a product or service. Some people say it's 7. And then there's this thing which many of your listeners may have heard about called the spotlight. Everybody's got a spotlight. And again, some people say there's 7 things in your spotlight. Some people say 10, some people say 5. And the things in your spotlight include, am I cold or hot? Is it stuffy in here? Is there some kind of a smell in it? I'm uncomfortable. I don't like the seat I'm sitting on. Those kinds of personal, physical comfort things. That's part of your spotlight. The rest of your spotlight is, who am I talking to? What is that person saying? Do I need to think about this? Is this something new to me? All these things are in your spotlight. If something new comes into your spotlight, something else falls out because your spotlight can only hold so much. It's another analogy might be a pail of water. If the pail of water is completely filled, for every new drop that goes in, another drop goes out because the pail is full. So if you want to stay in somebody's spotlight, if you want them to remember you and remember what you are selling, you need to, well, sort of hammer it. It's kind of a gross way of putting it, but you need to be talking. And by talking, I mean, messaging. You need to be on your social media or advertising in a newspaper. If you want to go old school about it, you need to be sending out direct mail pieces, and it could be a big postcard. Again, I'm a big believer that some of the old methods are still effective, depending a lot upon what your product or service is. But if it's something that people may not need immediately, it's something that people might be interested in. They're thinking, I may want to do this next week or next month. Having something in print that they can hold on to, that they can put on their refrigerator, will remind them. You don't even have to be there. It'll be, oh yeah, that thing. Like a restaurant menu. I'm sure a lot of your listeners get restaurant menus. Why? Because I may not want it now, but maybe next week I'll oh yeah, that's that Thai restaurant menu. Yeah, I think I'll order Thai. So sometimes having print coming into somebody's home is a great way to stay in their spotlights because they see it every once in a while. So that's
this analogy, Anne, is so helpful of the spotlight. I've never heard of this before. And it also made me think, I'm just thinking about the marketing strategies that we use at the foundation and personally. But yeah, I think you're right. It's probably you want to be that anomaly sometimes. So why not send a mailing when that seems to be less and less, especially for outreach for a more personal business. I think there's probably a bigger budget for things that you would expect to get mailings from, but it is always nice to get a card in the mail since it's less and less.
Oh, yeah. And things like menus, things like a postcard from a plumber offering a 10% discount to the rest of the month. You might put that aside and say, if I need a plumber by the end of the month, I'll give this guy a call because it's 10% off. So it's a great way, and then even after the month passes, if the card is still sitting there, and I guess I'm more guilty than a lot of people about not throwing things out. But if the card is still sitting there and you need a plumber, even though the month has expired, I might give that guy a call anyway, at least let him bid on it.
Sure. So you obviously have such a wealth of knowledge in this. How can people find you if they wanted to work with you or study with you?
Well, you can go to score.org and click on find a mentor. And then I think there's a search bar there and you can put my name in. You can also go to longisland.score.org, which is my local chapter. And instead of having to sift through like 10,000 mentors, you'll only have to sift through 50. But I think even if you just go to the national, which is score.org, there's a search bar there, find a mentor, then the search bar, and you can find me there. Or go to my LinkedIn page.
Fantastic. And we'll put a link to all of those things in the body of our YouTube video. And is also a Flobel advisor, so you can find her bio on our website as well. Well, thank you so much, Ann, for coming on Sage Advice and giving us some of your small bits of wisdom, and it was really informative. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. I'm happy to do it.